Hello, welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian, and I've got my new disc box. Not totally full, but I'm going to do a quick collection update, and I've got a variety of stuff to talk about here. So I've also got a little bit of a time crunch, so I'm going to see how quickly I can do this. But this is the first one I'm going to talk about, Brotherhood of the Wolf. This is the new collector's edition from Scream Factory. And I had never seen this movie. This is a movie that came out in 2001, directed by Christoph Gans, and I remembered it got a lot of attention for its, style and just general energy at the time, but I never got to see it in the theater for whatever reason. And then when it came out on video, I don't know, I think the length always kind of intimidated me. And this disc includes the director's cut, which runs 2.5 hours. So it's a time investment, definitely. But an interesting film for sure, and one that I can see in a lot of ways why it appealed to a lot of people. It says, when a mysterious beast ravages the countryside, two unlikely heroes are called in to fight the evil, and now their battle against dark, unspeakable terror is even more gripping, with a daring extended version of the film that showcases more of the breathtaking martial arts action, and hours of in-depth bonus features also included. The incredible hit that took audiences and critics alike on a wild ride is back with a more chilling adventure that's sure to have pulses racing all over again. So yeah, there is a lot of good martial arts action in here. You have folks like Mark Dacascos in a smaller role, but he is obviously an incredible actor, martial artist. And so there are some great, well-shot action sequences that, they're not quite Matrix style stuff, but I can see how in a period that was a couple years after the Matrix, it definitely caught people's attention. Now, I will say that at 2.5 hours, there's a lot more plot, well, sort of, in here than action sequences. But that said, it's still a fascinating film. And of course, they include 2 English dub tracks, a 5.1 version, and I think a 2.0 version, and the original French audio is also included here. So this collector's edition, I don't think it has, yeah, it does actually. It has alternate artwork. So you get 2 discs. You get the director's cut version and the bonus features all on a second disc. And it has deleted scenes with introductions by Christoph Gans, The Guts of the Beast, and The Making of Brotherhood of the Wolf, as well as Legend. And that is a ton of stuff, more than it sounds like with just those 3 segments. I mean, it's just a lot to go through, actually. So if you are a fan of this, this disc is going to give you everything you want to know about the movie and more. So if you're a fan, definitely worth picking up for sure. From Scream Factory, and then from Shout Factory, very different direction, a comedy from David Mamet from 2000, so just a year before that film. This is State and Maine. And this is a charming but still very Mammoth-y story of a film getting made. And so you're dealing with all the cast and crew as they are trying to film on location in a small town a movie called The Old Mill, and just dealing with all the problematic things that happen, when you just set up and try to do a movie. Just that alone. But then when you try to go to locations and dealing with local people and politics and, just the nature of the director and the producer and the crew and the stars, and, you think you have your location. The movie is called The Old Mill. You find out on the first day the old mill that's supposedly in the town that you have to film in has burned down, so you have to ask your writer, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, to rewrite the movie so that it doesn't end at the old mill or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So David Paymer is the producer, Alec Baldwin, and Sarah Jessica Parker are kind of the stars. Like Philip Seymour Hoffman, the writer, Bill Macy is the director, and then you've got a lot of local folks down on the bottom there. Charles Durning's the mayor of the town and stuff like that. Rebecca Pidgeon owns a bookstore, I think, or something. So anyway, it's very Mammoty in its way because it's very, quippy and funny, and there's a really nice commentary on here, and I think this must have been done for the DVD, but I can't be sure. With actors Sarah Jessica Parker, William H. Macy, Clark Gregg, David Paymer, and Patti LuPone. And it's really well done. I thought, oh man, it's going to be a group track. I'm not going to be able to understand anything. But they actually parsed it out so that, you hear David Paymer talk for a little bit, and then you hear Bill Macy talk. I think Bill Macy's stuff was my favorite stuff. But Sarah Jessica Parker is very good too. And so and Clark Gregg. It's just really interesting to hear them all talk about their experiences. And, like Bill Macy's worked with Mamet a lot more, so he has a lot of stories to tell about the way that Mamet works. And anyway, he was talking about how the movie itself, State and Main, as they're filming it, is going through a lot of what the, not quite the level of drama that goes through the actual State and Main's story, the old mill goes through, but that it's happening while they're doing the movie. So there's this meta upon meta aspect to it. Anyway, this is a Shout Select release, and a good little movie that I think in Mamet's career is now become overlooked. So it's nice to get it in HD and looking nice with a nice commentary. Next up, this one I haven't gotten a chance to fully dive into yet. This was a recommendation from my good friend and podcast partner, Elric Kane. This is from director Hirokazu Koreeda, and it seems to be something akin a little bit to a film like Defending Your Life, but this is a much more poetic and sort of beautiful idea in terms of what is happening. You have a bunch of folks who have died and are going into limbo, and they basically have the opportunity to select one memory to take with them for the rest of their days, for eternity. And this building that they go to, which I guess is kind of a film production office in a way, they are going to tell them the memory. They will then take that memory and try to commit it to film. And once they've done that, they will give it to the person and they will take it with them and move on wherever they're going. It says, if you could choose only one memory to hold on to for eternity, what would it be? That's the question at the heart of Hirokazu Koreeda's revelatory international breakthrough, a bittersweet fantasia in which the recently deceased find themselves in a limbo where they must select a single cherished moment from their life to be recreated on film for them to take into the next world. Afterlife's high-concept premise is grounded in Koreeda's documentary-like approach to the material, which he shaped through interviews with hundreds of Japanese citizens. What emerges is a panoramic vision of the human experience, its ephemeral joys and lingering regrets, and a quietly profound meditation on memory, our interconnectedness, and the amber-like power of cinema to freeze frame. So this sounds just like a really powerful film. I got to watch some of it, and you get to see the people sit down and talk about their lives. Some people are saying, my life wasn't interesting. I don't have any good memories at all. Another young guy's like, I'm just not going to choose, period. And then another guy's like, oh, I remember when I was in middle school, I used to sit at the front of the bus with the window open, and the wind would come through and just blow across my entire body, and it gave me this great sensation. And so anyway, you get a variety of memories, it sounds like people are going to go through, and so I'm looking forward to diving into this one. New 2K digital restoration approved by the director with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, new audio commentary featuring film scholar Linda C. Ehrlich, new interviews with Koreeda and cinematographers Masayoshi Tsukida and Yutaka Yamazaki, deleted scenes, plus an essay by novelist Viet Thanh Nguyen. So you get all that. There's our little booklet and our inside. Okay, so that's Afterlife. Then we have Bird with a Crystal Plumage. This is the 4K from Arrow. Another beautiful hard box. Very knockable. And this one I did get to check out and looks amazing. I mean, you know, one of the great giallo films ever made. One of Argento's best films. And it is just beautiful to look at on 4K. I was absolutely stunned by the presentation. So, you know, I haven't gone through all the extras because there's a lot to take in here, you know. But that said, it seems like this is another home run 4K from Arrow. So I'm very excited to have this one in my hands. I know there was some alternate artwork you could get. I'm fine with this artwork here. But a staggeringly assured debut, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage establishes the key traits that would define Argento's filmography, including lavish visuals and a flair for wildly inventive, brutal scenes of violence, with sumptuous cinematography by Vittorio Storaro, who of course shot Apocalypse Now, among other things. Seductive score by legendary composer Ennio Morricone. And this landmark film has never looked good or sounded better. Okay, so it's a new 4K restoration from the original negative by Arrow. Let's see here. Optional link, the subtitles. Audio commentary by Troy Howarth. And then Black Gloves and Screaming Mimes, an interview with author and film critic Kat Ellinger, exploring the film's themes in its relationship to both giallo and Frederick Brown's novel, The Screaming Mimi. The Power of Perception, a visual essay on the cinema of Dario Argento by Alexandria Heller-Nicholas. I love both Kat Ellinger and Alexandria Heller-Nicholas, so I know I'm going to love that stuff. Let's see here. She's the author of Devil's Advocates, Suspiria, and the Giallo Canvas, Art, Excess, and Horror Cinema, reflecting on the recurring theme of perception and the role of art in Argento's filmography. Something called Crystal Nightmare, an interview with writer-director Dario Argento, and Argento Icon, an interview with actor Gildo DeMarco, Eva's Talking, an archival interview with actor Eva Renzi, original Italian and international theatrical trailers, etc., etc. So you get your disc, you get a nice poster, you get, this excellent looking bound booklet. That's just beautiful. Again, these Arrow 4Ks, I mean, I've talked about them on the channel a lot, but they're truly wonderful, and I look forward to each and every one that I get. The last three I'm going to go through rather quickly. They're just a mishmash of things I've been watching. They're older titles for the most part. This one's from Warner Archive. It is the Satanic Rites of Dracula, and it is from 1973. It is a later era Dracula Hammer film. I can't remember if it's the last one or not, but it is very interesting, and of course stars Mr. Christopher Lee as Dracula and Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, but in a modern context where we start the story in a cult. It's a satanic cult. They're doing satanic rituals. Some higher up government officials in this area of the UK are involved in the thing, and the police try to send in a guy to spy on things, and he gets tortured and he finally escapes, but he dies after they've gotten him back. But it's clear that, this cult is pretty serious, and they are working, we find out, with Dracula, and he's creating vampire slaves, and it's pretty nuts. But it says Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee pair up for the final, Hammer Dracula in this follow-up to Dracula AD 1972. This go-around, the Count, Christopher Lee, naturally follows a more pulpish, super-villainous playbook, posing as a millionaire industrialist, alive and well, and living in London while securely brewing up a batch of super plague in a quest to destroy the world. Oh yeah, he's trying to recreate the plague in a more powerful way so that he can wipe out everybody. It seems like Dracula just wants the earth completely wiped out of people, and he's just done. But it does have, some nice conflicting moments between Dracula and Van Helsing, because of course Cushing plays in an ancestor to Van Helsing. And he is got a granddaughter that's helping him out. And so you can see them there, sort of. But yeah, it's cool. I think this one's got a little bit of a bad rep, and I enjoyed it. I thought the sort of procedural nature of it and the thriller nature of it just maintained throughout, and I totally enjoyed it for what it was. So that's worthwhile. No extras on that. That's a Warner Archive Blu-ray. This one I did come across while I was doing some research for a podcast. It's called On the Nickel, and it is from, I believe, 1980, or maybe late 70s. I can't remember now. It is written and directed by Ralph Waite, who, if you don't recognize him, he is the patriarch from the Waltons TV show. And it's the story of basically, well, it says Skid Row, Los Angeles, 5th Street, also known as the Nickel. When one man, Donald Moffat, got out alive, the one thing he didn't count on was missing his best friend, what's his name? Shoot, I can't remember the character's name. It's like CG, I think. And that's Ralph Waite. An extraordinary independent film that traces in a poignant and sometimes hilarious way why life is worth living. And so, yeah, it's just sort of Donald Moffat, who you'll remember from The Thing. He's the guy who doesn't want to spend the winter tied to the couch. He's a great actor, great character actor, and he's sort of the lead of this film. And we start with him trying to find his old buddy CG in Skid Row in LA, and he finds him, and they're hanging out with a bunch of these basically homeless drunks. And so it's a kind of downbeat picture of some folks. I'm trying to see. Jack Kehoe is in here. James Gannon, who was the coach from Major League, is one of the drunks. Hal Williams, Ellen Gier. It's a good cast, and you'll recognize some of these people. But it opens with a Tom Waits song. I think it's called On the Nickel. And I think there might be a couple Tom Waits songs in the soundtrack, which help overall. But this is a movie I just hadn't even heard of until I was doing the research, trying to find some Los Angeles-based films. And yeah, this is a Blu-ray. It's a burn. It's a BDR, but it looks pretty good. And otherwise, I don't think this film was that available. So it was nice to sort of, discover a movie like this that I'd never heard of, with a good cast, and it's solid. And then last but not least, In Bruges. This is the Second Sight Special Edition Blu-ray. This is Region B locked, if you're curious. Just rewatching this film, I forgot just how much I like it. So it's about, of course, two hitmen played by Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, and they are sent away. We find out that there's been some kind of mistake, and they have been sent to Bruges by their boss to hang out there until he says it's okay to come back. And so they do that, and it's just them hanging out, and the Colin Farrell character is not particularly excited about Bruges. It's an old part of Belgium, and it's one of those things where it's got some cool historical landmarks, but it's pretty small. There's not a lot to do. So he becomes bored almost right away, and they have to sort of sit around and wait for a phone call from their boss that says it's okay to come back to London, I guess. And so they're just hanging out, and we get to know them through their hanging out. We get to know why they were sent away. We get to know what their history is together. We get to know a little bit of their history with their boss. And it's fascinating stuff. So I forgot how much I like this. I love the chemistry between them. I love how it can be at times incredibly funny, and by the end, incredibly moving. And I'm not going to give away anything about what happens towards the end of the film, but it is a really solid movie. One that my wife is a big fan of, and so I'm glad I picked up this Blu-ray, because this has got some nice features on it. 6-shooter Martin McDonagh's Oscar-winning short in HD. Shoot First, Sight See Later, a new interview with director of photography Igel Brild. Find the Rhythm, a new interview with editor John Gregory. Find Bruges, a new interview with production designer Michael Carlin. The Alcove Guy, a new interview with actor Eric Godin. When in Bruges, interviews with the cast and crew and on-set footage. Strange Bruges, interviews with the cast and crew and on-set footage, as well as deleted scenes, etc. So this is a nice Blu-ray. It's porting over some of the DVD special features, but most of those interviews I read at the top, I think, were all new. But this is a really good film from a little while ago now. I want to say, like, you can kind of see, like, right on the bottom there. 2007, yeah. So it's been a while, but I'm glad I picked this up. I'd heard this Second Sight had come out. I was able to find a relatively affordable copy on Amazon, and Second Sight is a company I love. I don't talk about them quite as much as I'd like to on the channel, but everything I've gotten from them has been solid. They've never ever let me down with one of their releases, and that is that continues to be the case with this. So. Anyway, that is it for this collection update. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.